We were together for 10 years. Everyone envied our relationship, and yet 3 months before the wedding he found his true love and asked me to let him go.
Fine.
But until you find me a new boyfriend, I won't break up with you. I refuse to let people laugh at me behind my back. I dug my nails into my palm, pretending to stay calm. How could I possibly be calm? I wanted him to suffer the way I had suffered. Chapter 1. What? Leo looked up, visibly surprised. In his eyes, I even caught a flicker of annoyance, one he himself hadn't noticed, but I did. I gave him a sarcastic smile. Isn't that fair?
His phone rang.
He answered her call, right in front of me. His face was still cold, but his voice had softened. He muttered a "do whatever you want" before rushing out of what used to be our home, telling me to throw away all his things. I looked around the bowls we had made by hand, the giant portrait of us in the living room, the matching hoodies on the balcony, the identical pajamas. I didn't understand. Wasn't this supposed to be true love? We had been together since the first year of high school. Even when I was forced to read a self-criticism in front of the whole school, I declared I liked Leo. He stood under the sun, smiling, the most popular boy of all, but with eyes only for me. I studied like crazy just to get into the same university. Even the teachers who once said I would distract him ended up supporting us. And that wasn't love? I reached for one of the bowls, but it slipped from my hand and shattered into pieces. That was the last straw. I fell to the floor and cried endlessly. When I finally calmed down and began picking up the shards, a message arrived. A photo: Leo's back as he cooked, wearing an apron, tall and slender, his neck tilted slightly with a tenderness that hurt to look at. Sister, stop clinging to him. That single line stabbed through my heart over and over again. A shard cut my finger and blood dripped down, but I felt nothing. Staring blankly at the wound, my vision blurred once more. How cruel. Chapter 2. I drove to Eric's house, Leo's cousin. When I first entered university, Eric had asked for my WeChat. Later, when he learned I was Leo's girlfriend, his gaze remained indecent. But since he was known as a womanizer and Leo was always in the middle, I never felt uncomfortable. Maybe it was all the anger I had bottled up. After tonight, I wouldn't have the courage to come back. So even though the rain poured down, I drove there in silence. I knocked on the door. A few seconds later, it opened. Eric appeared in a bathrobe, hair still damp. He looked surprised to see me. What's wrong? He stepped aside, gesturing for me to enter. Can I stay here tonight? I asked from the doorway. Are you crazy? His hand froze in the air, his voice rising, clearly understanding what I was implying. If not, I'll leave. I had already turned when Eric grabbed me and pulled me inside. I have a fever. 39 degrees. Do you want to check? Eric leaned in close. Feeling awkward, I turned my face away. He smelled intoxicating. Not like Leo's cool, faint cologne. His was addictive, filled with desire. I closed my eyes, wrapped my arms around his neck, and rose on my toes to kiss him. In an instant, it was like igniting a flame in a dry field. Eric cursed under his breath, gripped my chin, and deepened the kiss. Heat engulfed me, like a furnace set ablaze. His rhythm followed the storm outside, but burned 100 times hotter than the rain. Out of decency, every time Eric had once looked at me with that half-smile, I would lower my head and respectfully call him brother, be brother. My mind went blank. The only thing left were our mingled breaths and the pounding rain against the window. Leo, even when we still shared the same bed, it felt like a wall separated us. Maybe he still considered himself faithful to that filthy woman. But Eric was pure fire. The storm raged late into the night, and only then did it finally extinguish that blaze. When I woke up, I felt as though a train had run me over. My head was heavy, pounding with a dull ache. I had caught his fever. Eric walked in wearing a white t-shirt and gray pants, carrying a bowl of porridge. He looked perfectly fine. You're awake. I gave you some medicine. You still have a bit of fever. I called your work to ask for leave. Rest. I pushed the bowl aside. I had no appetite. I don't want to eat. Do you want me to feed you? He raised an eyebrow, flashing that seductive grin as he leaned closer. I pulled back slightly. I'm not hungry. I'm going home. I lifted the blanket to get up, but I had brought no clothes, so I quickly cover myself again. Eric set the bowl down, his smile gone. Do whatever you want. Go home. Give me my clothes. His footsteps were long and heavy. Just from his back, I knew he was upset. He tossed my freshly washed clothes onto the bed and slammed the door on his way out. I got dressed, handled some work matters, then called Leo. Leo, you didn't forget what you promised yesterday, right? Are you sick? That single phrase of concern pricked me like a needle, and my eyes burned. What do you need? I stayed silent for a few seconds, pulling myself together. Introduce me to a boyfriend. Elena, don't do this just to irritate me. Finding a new partner, moving forward instead of staying stuck after betrayal, is that irritating? I cut him off with a smile. I mean it, Leo. At the usual cafe. Let's talk in person. Chapter 3. The cafe wasn't close, and with traffic, Leo arrived first. He sat alone by the window, staring at his phone with that cold, elegant look. He truly didn't seem like someone capable of falling in love, much less cheating. That's how deceptive appearances can be. I set my bag down and sat across from him. I ordered a coffee and smiled. Your cousin Eric seems very handsome. Quite charming. But we've never exchanged contact. Could you help me arrange a date with him? Leo's eyes didn't leave my lips. Absent-mindedly, I touched them. They were bitten raw. I woke up late. Didn't have time to put on makeup. Sorry. Not Eric. He's too much of a playboy. I shot him a sideways glance, sarcasm dripping from my voice. And you're not? Does that make you a better choice? Leo turned his face slightly. He didn't answer. My whole family knows we were about to get married. You and Eric. Enough, Leo. Don't you feel disgusted with yourself? You knew we were about to get married, didn't you? And still, you were unfaithful. So tell me, how does that make you? Leo's face hardened. I never loved you, but I never cheated. The moment I understood my feelings, I was honest with you. Elena, I didn't want to keep lying. I didn't want us to end up in a marriage where we despised each other. Thank you, Leo, for your honesty. I swallowed the lump in my throat, forced back the nausea and the stabbing pain in my chest, and smiled. Of course, Leo. You're never wrong. I don't blame you. But I truly think Eric is attractive. Can't you help me? If you think he's not suitable, fine. Pick someone else. I'll go out with whoever you approve of. Does that sound fair? Leo's eyes darkened, unreadable, but in the end he called Eric. When Eric walked in, he stole every gaze in the cafe. He had that something you could drop him in any crowd, and he'd still be the most striking man there. And why has my dear sister-in-law called me here? He said with that half-smile of his, eyes gleaming with barely restrained desire. Leo's face was a poem of tension, lips pressed tight, silent, unmoving. Eric raised an eyebrow at me, rested an arm casually on Leo's shoulder, stretched out his long legs, and leaned back with careless ease. I asked him to help me find a boyfriend. I replied. You know better to keep it in the family. How could I not choose the elder brother first? I pulled out my phone and showed him my QR code. Eric looked surprised for a second, then instantly adapted. He added me on WeChat right in front of Leo and gave me the nickname, Little Lover. Enough. Not him. Leo cut in sharply, breaking the silent game Eric and I were playing with our eyes. I put away my phone with a smile and looked at him sweetly. All right. When you have time, introduce me to someone else then. But Eric's smile faded. Are you playing with me? He said. It was addressed to both of us, but his eyes locked only on mine. I looked away, saying nothing, but under the table my foot brushed lightly against his trousers. His ears turned red instantly, though his face stayed cold. Leo, busy frowning at his phone while answering messages, noticed nothing. She's making a scene, he muttered. Sorry, brother.
Leave.
I need to talk to her. Eric gave me one last look. He caught my silent signal with his eyes and walked away with long strides. Then next weekend. Find me someone decent. I stood up and left without looking back. Chapter 4. In the underground parking lot, Eric was sitting on the hood of my car smoking. Through the haze of smoke, his face looked almost unreal, too perfect to be true. You really waited here? What if Leo came down with me and saw you? Eric let out a dry laugh and snuffed out the cigarette with his fingers. Wouldn't that be even better? No, little brother, I said softly. He betrayed me so easily. Our 10 years together were nothing but a long, ridiculous joke. If I don't give it back to him, I'll never sleep peacefully again. Click. I deactivated the car alarm. Our eyes locked. After a few seconds of heavy silence, Eric opened the passenger door and climbed in. I sat behind the wheel, noticing he hadn't put on his seatbelt. I leaned over to fasten it, but he grabbed my shoulder and kissed me hard, hot, furious. When he pulled away, my lipstick was smeared at the corner of his mouth, making him look dangerously provocative. Where am I driving you? To your place. Eric held my hand tightly, but kept his gaze arrogantly turned to the window. When we reached his building, he said nothing, just kept playing with my fingers. In the elevator, he finally spoke. And how do you plan to take revenge on Leo? I lower my head and smiled. When he realizes he still loves me, I'll forgive him. Eric frowned. He didn't believe me for a second. He was waiting for the real answer. I want him to feel the joy of winning me back. To think I've been waiting for him all this time when in reality, I've been sleeping with his beloved older cousin. At last he released my hand, his eyes turning icy. You think I'll play that game? Ding, the elevator stopped. I stepped out without looking at him. I'm not playing. It doesn't have to be you. It could be anyone. I just want to sleep peacefully. I don't want to lie awake every night wondering if I'm so worthless that even Leo couldn't love me. He has to suffer more than I did. Only then will we be even. Before the door could close, Eric shoved his hand through and held it firmly. Without a word, he lifted me into his arms and threw me onto the bed with almost savage force. We stared at each other in silence until he finally gave in. I sat at the edge of the bed, listening to the sound of the shower. For the first time in a long while, I felt a flicker of relief.
He gave in.
I knew he would. After all, he loved games. And this time he had nothing to lose. Chapter 5. After much pushing, Leo really did introduce me to someone. I swallowed the faint resentment rising within me and went to the date. The guy was more than shy, seemed robotic. After just a couple of exchanged phrases, I laughed not out of joy, but frustration. Then my phone rang. It was Leo. How's the date? I'd like you to take it seriously, I answered. After all, we were together for many years. Don't you want me to be happy? Silence. Then his hoarse voice, exactly as I had imagined, came through. Fine. I pulled some money from my bag, left it on the table, grabbed my purse, and walked out. And there he was, standing under the street lamp, an unlit cigarette between his fingers, just watching me in silence. Are you regretting this, Leo? From the moment I was honest with you, every step I've taken has escaped your control. Am I becoming interesting to you again? Are you discovering a version of me you never expected? Why were you waiting at the door? I stepped closer, just enough, not too much. Leo smiled faintly. I thought you might be angry. I wanted to keep an eye on things. Ah, I see. Then come and watch as many times as you like. Maybe one day I won't get angry anymore. He didn't reply. He walked me in silence to the parking lot and stayed there watching as I drove away. Chapter 6. Every time, Leo kept waiting outside. The longer my dinners lasted, the darker his expression grew. But every time I walked out, he sighed with relief. I think he was beginning to understand what he truly felt. All he needed was a spark. I looked at the man in front of me and smiled with a hint of apology. Mr. Lou, the one outside, he's actually my boyfriend. He wants to leave me, but he can't let me go. So, I wanted to ask you a favor. Would you watch a movie with me tonight? Lucas, with his silver-rimmed glasses, glanced elegantly toward the door. Of course. His answer made the wine in my glass taste sweeter. For the first time after dinner, I didn't approach Leo. I waited for Lucas to leave, and then got into his car. On the way to the cinema, the rearview mirror revealed Leo's car trailing us closely, afraid of losing sight, afraid that we might not notice him. The movie was good. We sat in the last row, in a couple seat, with a perfect view. When the lights came on, Leo could no longer contain himself. He turned. Our eyes met. Why did you follow us? I asked. Lucas played along flawlessly, resting his hand lightly on my shoulder. Leo always had a silent authority buried deep in his bones. He didn't answer. He simply strode forward and grabbed my hand, trying to drag me away. His face was like ice. I turned to smile at Lucas in gratitude, but didn't stop Leo. I let him pull me, let him force me into his car. He climbed in too. "Are you angry?" I asked, tilting my head. "What do you think?" I narrowed my eyes and smiled. "And what right do you have to be angry? Didn't you say until I had a new boyfriend we couldn't break up?" I looked away. The silence inside the car grew suffocating. Leo stepped on the accelerator, breaking the tension. The black car glided through the lights, devouring the shadows. When we reached my building, I looked up and saw the apartment light on. My heart tightened. It had to be Eric. That second of nerves distracted me, and I didn't hear what Leo said. "What?" "Elena, don't be with anyone else," he repeated, rubbing the bridge of his nose, his voice hoarse and full of anxiety. Something cracked inside me. My nose burned. I didn't even need to pretend. The tears came on their own, like a stone finally shattering and turning to dust. But I held them back, turning toward the window, my mind blank. If only we could be once again in the bamboo grove behind the school, embraced under the moon. When I didn't answer, Leo noticed something was wrong. He turned me by the shoulder and saw clearly the tears welling in my eyes. "I'm sorry, Elena. I was wrong, Elena. Don't cry, Elena. Talk to me, Elena." The same red eyes. The same boyish tone. The same clean, beautiful face. In the end, I couldn't hold back anymore. I wrapped my arms around Leo's neck and burst into tears. He gently stroked my back, waiting for me to calm down little by little. When I pushed him away slightly and lowered my gaze, I looked at him and said, "I was waiting for you." "I know," Leo replied, ruffling my hair tenderly, his eyes filled with affection. "I don't want it to happen again." "All right." Leo tried to go upstairs with me, but I stopped him. "I still can't accept you back. I need time." His steps faltered, his face showing a flash of pain, his voice dropping. "All right." I only went up after making sure his car had driven away. When I opened the door, I found Eric sprawled on the sofa, legs stretched across the coffee table, watching commercials, utterly bored. He didn't even bother to look at me. Exhausted, I grabbed a robe and headed straight for the bathroom. As soon as the water began to fall, Eric embraced me from behind. His hands were burning, making me shiver. His teeth sank into my neck like a wild dog slowly, with pressure. "Are you regretting this?" His voice was almost a question, testing me. Regretting what? Shutting the door on Leo that night? Impossible. Just remembering that woman's message made it hard to breathe. I turned urgently, threw my arms around Eric's neck, and kissed him. I needed an answer. I needed an endless night tangled up, turning me into a puppet without feelings. That way, love wouldn't be able to kill me. Even if, as I predicted, Leo came back, I would still feel lost. It would still hurt. We had been so close. So close to being happy forever. He gave me the first dab. She gave me the second. So I decided to burn everything down. Chapter 7. When I woke up, Eric was still asleep. I was just about to get out of bed when he pulled me back. "Stay with me a little longer," he murmured without opening his eyes. I shook his shoulder. "It's late. Come on, wake up." He finally let go, lying there until he fully stirred. When I came out of the bathroom, he was already dressed as if heading to an important meeting, breakfast prepared on the table. I sat down in front of him and picked up the spoon. "You probably shouldn't come to my place for a while." "What's this?" "Don't recognize me with clothes on." Eric raised his brows, his mood clearly sour. "It's not that," I replied. "Leo is waiting for me to forgive him. You can't be seen." Eric let out a dry laugh and set his chopsticks down.
"Ah.
"So, I'm officially your lover now." I didn't answer. I just kept eating the soup, knowing he was only irritated. We had discussed this from the beginning. He had accepted it. Not even a touch to comfort me? Eric pinched my cheek playfully, leaving me off guard. Without thinking, I reached out and ruffled his hair. "Relax. It's only for a while." Maybe that calmed him a little. He clicked his tongue and began clearing the dishes. I grabbed my bag and left without looking back. Maybe acting was also a way to spice up our interaction. But between Eric and me, There were never any feelings. Not even with Leo, to tell the truth. As I went downstairs, I was surprised to see Leo waiting for me. For a moment, I was glad I had come out alone. Without a word, I opened the passenger door and sat down, straightforward as ever. Leo smiled warmly and offered me breakfast. I raised my hand to refuse. I already ate. You did it yourself? His expression tightened, surprised. I never ate breakfast. It always made me lazy. Before, Leo used to prepare breakfast or bring it to me just to convince me to eat something before work. Uh-huh. Who else? I turned my face away. I didn't want to look him in the eye. Maybe it was guilt, maybe emptiness. Either way, we stayed silent until the car stopped in front of my office. At last Leo spoke. Tomorrow I'll bring it myself. You don't need to wake up early. My hand froze before closing the door. I lowered my gaze and looked at him. The sunlight brushed over his face, tracing every clean and sharp angle, like a sword about to be unsheathed cold, restrained, perfect. Leo, and that woman? Is she still working in your company? Her name was Alice. She was our university classmate. Your assistant. The story between them sounded like something out of a cheap soap opera. Alice was beautiful and talented, her infatuation written all over her face. At first, Leo found her annoying and even wanted to transfer her. But one night he was drugged. It was a trap. He almost slept with her. Alice resembled me slightly, and at that time Leo still loved only me. Even drugged, his mind foggy and his body out of control, he still knew the difference. He clenched his teeth and threw her out of his apartment. After that, he kept her close, not to raise suspicion, to investigate quietly. But the more time he spent with her, the more confused his feelings became. The truth was Alice was just an innocent employee caught in something that wasn't hers to bear, and precisely because of that, Leo's compassion for her grew stronger than ever. Until one day, he stopped noticing the difference between her and me. The same almond eyes. The same lips, faintly upturned. The same delicate chin. And then his feelings blurred her, perhaps they had already strayed. I'll ask her to leave, Leo said, but his eyes were dull. He wasn't sure. That lack of resolve stabbed at me like a splinter in the eye, and confirmed what I had already known, how right I was to stop thinking of us as we. I nodded and walked into the building without looking back. Chapter 8. Leo was quick. By the end of the day, just before leaving work, Alice sent me a message. It was a job offer from another company, better pay, a higher position than she had with Leo. She said nothing else, but the meaning was clear. Leo couldn't just let her go. He had to make sure she had a safe landing before disappearing from her life. And me? I became the villain who tore the lovers apart. They were the perfect tragic love story. A flawless spy. How ridiculous. Even more ridiculous was Alice's second message. Sister, he won't come for you tonight. Do you believe it? I believed it. And yet I still waited downstairs at the office. I waited and waited. When it was already late, I opened the app to call a car. Maybe it was bad luck, but while I was waiting there was a minor accident. A car rolled over my foot. My face turned pale. They rushed me straight to the hospital. The pain was so sharp everything spun. I was drenched in cold sweat. X-rays. Bandages. 3 missed calls from Leo. When the 4th came in, I rejected it. Silence at last. It was already too late. I couldn't get a ride back. I sat in the corridor, staring into emptiness. I didn't want to talk to anyone, not friends, not family. I didn't even understand how my life had become such a mess. Suddenly a shadow blocked the light in front of me. I looked up. It was Eric's perfect face, strikingly handsome. He raised his hand and brushed the dry tears from my cheek. How did you know I was here? I asked. But before I could say more, Eric lifted me into his arms, and I simply wrapped mine around his neck. As he strode forward with steady steps, he said, I have a friend who's a doctor here. He was upset, though the reason wasn't clear. But his presence, it was cold as ice. I said nothing, until I saw Leo's car parked in front of my building. Eric let out a dry laugh, dripping with sarcasm. Leo stepped out and slammed on the passenger window. I rolled it down and looked at him. His eyes were dark, his lips taut. What are you doing with my brother? I showed him Alice's message on my phone. Alice had been too confident, thinking I had too much pride to complain to Leo. Maybe before, when I loved him, that would have been true. But now this was a game. And if I wanted to win, I didn't care what means I used. She went out drinking with people from her new company, Leo said, frowning. They set her up. She asked for help. The disgust in his expression was obvious. I nodded. But I waited for you, Leo. I waited so long, I ended up getting run over. It hurt. So much. It was your brother who found me at the hospital and brought me home.
I didn't want to see you.
I was going to cool my head in the hallway. But now I see it's pointless.
Leave.
That last time was our farewell. I don't want to keep waiting. And I can't forgive you anymore. Before Leo could say anything, Eric stepped on the gas. We drove out of the garage without giving him the chance. He carried me all the way to my door. Leo was leaning against the wall, disheveled, silent. When our eyes met, I couldn't read anything in his gaze. He opened his lips, maybe to tell Eric to put me down, but then he saw my bandaged foot and closed his mouth. I reached out to open the door. Finally, Leo grabbed my arm. Elena, today was an accident. I'm sorry. You have too many accidents. And your apologies, they mean nothing. It's fine. Luckily, your brother brought me back, I said with a smile, leaning a little closer to Eric. I felt his back stiffen, and I saw Leo's face darken. After I closed the door, Eric tossed me onto the sofa, not rough, not gentle. What are you plotting? With you as the comparison, he'll realize how much he hates Alice. Of course I'll forgive him. That way, it looks like I love him even more. I sank into the sofa, my voice indifferent, my gaze icy. Eric didn't leave that night, but he slept in the guest room. I opened my phone camera. I recorded the entire night. 2 people, silent, distant, each in their own room. And me? I kept tossing and turning, pretending to sleep, but clearly I was awake the entire night.
Chapter 9.
I opened the door and Leo was still there. Like a statue. He hadn't moved all night. His almond-shaped eyes were bloodshot, dark circles carved under them. He looked shadowed, hollow, on the verge of collapse. He looked at me.
And at Eric.
And then cried. His face expressionless, yet filled with rage, with helplessness. Elena, can we start over? I tried to ignore him. But last night Eric and I… Enough, he roared, fists clenched. I don't care. Eric laughed coldly, turned to leave, but as he passed by, Leo punched him. And another. Eric endured 2 hits before returning the first. They fought for real. Without restraint. Blows straight to each other's weak spots. When they could barely continue, I finally spoke. Let him go, Leo. Nothing happened between him and me.
Come.
Leo dropped his fist instantly. And just then, Eric delivered one last blow. Leo let out a muffled groan. He looked at me almost pitiful, like a punished child. Eric stood, gave me a bitter smile. Mockery? Sadness? I couldn't tell. Leo followed me inside. I handed him my phone. He scrolled through the video slowly, his shoulders sinking further with each second. I took out the first aid kit, knelt beside him, and treated his wounds in silence. He looked at me, swallowed hard, and said, Wife. I'm here. I'm sorry. Leo sobbed uncontrollably. In 10 years, it was the first time I had ever seen him cry.
He didn't know how to cry.
Always so calm.
Too calm.
Are you sad today? Yes. Those days, every damn day. I was broken. More than you, Leo. I met you at 16. We started dating at 17. 11 full years. We were bones, flesh, and soul of each other. How could you hurt me so much? Leo couldn't even say sorry. He only pulled my head against his chest, so I wouldn't see the tears that wouldn't stop falling. When he finally calmed down, I resumed treating his wounds. He had inverted eyelids, and after crying they were swollen completely. Leo had a bit of vanity. He turned his face away, holding my hand so I wouldn't look. I turned his face back, forced myself to suppress the knot in my stomach, and kissed his eyelid. You're not ugly. Don't hide. Wife, he gripped my waist more firmly, with obvious intent. I pushed him away and started packing the first aid kit. He stayed there in silence, but he understood. He clenched his hand. Before, no matter how good things were, Leo only called me wife at night, shyly. Now he said it as if it were the most natural thing in the world. After losing me, he wanted me back at all costs. Chapter 10. I didn't let Leo move back in. And I didn't even need to say it. Alice was fired, and she found it nearly impossible to secure another job. She tried to stir up trouble at Leo's office, but she was out of her depth. She vanished quickly. Now Leo treated me like fragile glass. So good it felt fake. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was compensation. Wife, why don't we get married already? The ceremony can wait whenever you want, he said, gently holding my hand. I looked down at our hands. I didn't answer. Not yet. Let's see, Leo. It's hard for me to trust. You know that. His hand stiffened, his voice rough. All right. When we reached my building, he hugged me tightly. I have to travel to Hangzhou. 1 week. His voice was full of longing, as if he didn't want to leave me for even a moment. But to me, that tone felt unreal, absurd, so I disconnected. His lips leaned closer. I pushed him away abruptly. I'll wait for you when you come back. Elena, I'll wait too. For your forgiveness. For your acceptance. That part he didn't say aloud. I watched him leave disheveled, a little lost. And without realizing it, I smiled. Chapter 11. Eric had just come out of the shower, wearing a bathrobe and a towel wrapped around his head. It's been 2 months. How long do you plan on keeping me as your hidden lover? Like a bristling cat. I couldn't help but laugh. He lifted me and sat me on the counter, his kisses hot, urgent. Only you, damn it, can make me endure this. I wrapped my arms around his neck and kissed him back with equal passion. I didn't want to think about his ambiguous words. Maybe because Leo was away on his trip, I was in a good mood. I felt like playing with Eric. I made him cry. Don't be fooled by his laid-back facade. Eric was so handsome, he bordered on androgynous. When he cried, his eyes red. It broke your heart. And, to top it off, he cursed while crying. A whole other level. Eric was the perfect partner for this experience. I knew full well Leo would do everything possible to return early from his trip. But Eric didn't leave. He had reached his limit. Are you really going to keep wasting time with him? Do you actually plan to turn this farce into something real? If so, tell me. Don't waste my damn time. He was at the edge. I didn't even get the chance to calm him when there was a knock at the door. Eric looked at me. I didn't react. He threw on whatever pants he found and went to open it. I was in the bedroom, calm, slipping into a dress, painting my lips. Just as I snapped the cap on the lipstick, Leo barged in. Wife. His voice was low, his eyes pleading, as if I lied, he would choose to believe me. I smiled.
He just came to talk.
Nothing happened. Leo held his breath, ignoring the messy bed, Eric's shirt on the floor. I know. I believe you. His voice trembled. Eric, leaning against the doorframe, let out a sarcastic laugh. The tension shattered. Leo lowered his head, hiding his tears. Why, Elena? Leo, we've known each other 11 years. Do you still not know what kind of woman I am? I'm not sweet and innocent. I'm a spiteful bitch. Leo forced a bitter smile. Must have taken a lot of effort, huh? This time he didn't hit Eric. He just shoved him aside and left. Without a glance back. It was finally over.
But there was no joy.
No liberation. I sat in a daze before the vanity, not understanding why. Do you regret it? Eric's voice was hoarse.
No.
Only why does it feel like I haven't really let him go? Why am I not happy? I didn't look at him. I was still lost in thought. Eric chuckled lightly. You need more boyfriends. Oh yeah? Then I'll find more. Drop dead. Eric stepped closer, his face dark. What I mean is you don't understand feelings. You're just a brat. This isn't like when someone slaps you, and you simply slap them back. But I do believe in returning the blow. Why let someone hit you for free?
Yeah.
You're right. Eric's lips came closer. I pulled away. The mood was gone. Completely. Go home. It's almost 1. I know.
Go.
Boys shouldn't sleep out either. The door slammed shut with a deafening thud. And my world fell silent. Empty. As if I had finally let go of that obsession, but at the same time, lost my direction. Chapter 12. Eric had a temper. It was the first time he hadn't come to see me in 2 weeks. Even Leo showed up.
I was a little surprised.
I stopped. There he was leaning against a post smoking. Just like back when he used to chase away my suitors. Except then, he never lit the cigarette. Now the ground was littered with butts. Elena, come. His voice was hoarse. I walked closer. I could see his face clearly. Tired.
Sunken.
And beneath it all, a deep hopelessness. He lowered his gaze, asked almost in a whisper, "Have you had your revenge?" "Yes." "Then come back." For words. But they froze me. Leo, the man with pride unbreakable as steel, I never imagined he would say something like that. When I finally reacted, I shook my head. "I don't like you anymore. Not even a little." His hand trembled. He raised his eyes red-rimmed. "Elena, didn't you say the revenge was over?" "Yes. I'm telling you the truth." Leo reached out, trying to touch me. I stepped away. "Then is it Eric?" It wasn't a question worth answering. I turned and went inside the building, took out my phone, and erased every way to contact Leo. Chapter 13. Outside, snow began to fall. The sky was frozen. I quit my job. Planned to spend some time in Hainan, escaping the cold. Platinum soft sand. The tide rising and falling. A low sunset. Silent rocks. I never thought my life would end up like this. Separating from Leo, the man, I was certain I'd marry, and in the worst way. Giving up my favorite career and a more than comfortable salary. Without telling anyone, not even my parents, and hiding in a little fishing town in Hainan, casting a line not knowing if anything would bite. I put on my hat and walked with the empty basket. In front of Maya, familiar silhouette. "I've been looking for you for a long time." Leo's elegant face showed exhaustion and relief, like someone who had just lost a race. "You shouldn't be here. Now I'll have to move again. My life is fine." Like this coming uninvited is rude. He surely hadn't expected me to say that in a scene so perfect for reconciliation. The sea breeze that once caressed now cut like blades. Leo paled. All right. It was the best promise he could give me. He stood still as night fell. And I kept walking. Then I saw who I was competing against. Eric's bangs were damp with sweat, clinging to his forehead, giving him a boyish look. Damn, he didn't even finish cursing before I shoved the empty basket into his hands. "Come on. I didn't catch anything today. I'll cook crab." Extra chapter. When we sent the invitations, several close friends called me. They asked if I had made a mistake with the groom's name, or if I had gone insane. From Leo to his brother? I laughed and answered each one, "No, it wasn't a mistake." Eric was fuming, his face black as coal. "Did you really enjoy hiding me? We're getting married and nobody even knows I'm the groom? You've gone too far." He crushed me against the sofa, threatening me with swords and knives. I lazily lifted one leg and smiled. "Weren't you the one who forced me to make it official? Would be embarrassing to back out now. I swear I'll kill you." Later that night, while I was fast asleep, Eric, like a mischievous child, posted a picture of us in Hainan on my story. It wasn't even romantic. We weren't holding hands. Just me fishing and him sitting nearby, bored, watching me. A passing photographer had taken it. It was so beautiful that for a moment, I almost believed that love could come back someday. Maybe it was time to look ahead. Eric once told me he had been in love with me for a long time. Not in university. Not a random spark. It was in high school. Leo and I had caused a scandal with our relationship. His parents locked him at home to reflect. Leo didn't want me to worry, so he wrote me a letter and asked Eric to deliver it. That night, Eric climbed the wall and snuck into our school during evening study. As soon as he landed, he saw me sitting under a tree, lost in thought. "Hey, out of uniform and skipping class. Interesting." I looked up and smiled at him. Just as smile and Eric fell. He handed me the letter. I smirked a little, arrogant. "So, you're another admirer of mine?" "TSK. Too bad, I already have an owner."
Huh.
"In your dreams. It's from my brother Leo." He tried to hide his red ears by putting on a disdainful face. But I was already opening the letter, not caring, not ashamed of my narcissism. It was the first time in his life someone treated him as if he were invisible. A flicker of heartbeat, a flicker of anger. That's when the seed was planted. The night before our wedding, the groom and bride were supposed to sleep separately. Eric went home. I couldn't sleep. I went out to the balcony and saw a figure standing below. It was Leo. He had once promised me, the night before our wedding, I'll stay under your window all night. And now he had come to keep a promise that no longer mattered. I took a beer from the fridge and tossed it. It landed in the bushes. Leo went to pick it up.
He was closer now.
I leaned on the balcony, looking at him. Hey, I said with a smile, I'm getting married tomorrow. Don't ruin the mood, okay? All that drama you're doing now just taints what we had. It'd be better if you moved on. Like a man. That way I can still believe those 10 years were real. His hand froze, holding the can. He opened it, tilted his head back, and drank it all in one go. At the wedding, Leo in a black suit sat in the front row. That cold face stood out like a blade under the sun. When Eric said, I do, I saw Leo's lips move too slightly, as if repeating. It was almost ridiculous. Clearly, he hadn't heard a single thing I'd said. But everything exploded on the wedding night. You married me and still looked at Leo? Are you kidding? Eric pushed me onto the bed. He looked beautiful, arrogant, upset, almost delicate. Nothing like the womanizer he once was. I wrapped my arms around his neck, pulled him close, and kissed him. Husband, don't be jealous. I looked at him because it made me laugh, that's all. Relax. Eric flushed scarlet and stole my breath with another kiss. Elena, I also kept watch last night. I was afraid you'd run away. But you didn't give me beer. What the hell, where were you? How didn't I see you? Eric read the panic in my eyes. His voice dropped. Leo arrived first. I hid. Maybe you didn't need to feel so insecure. Suddenly, my chest ached. That night he asked me for everything and I said yes to it all. Even to serving him a warm beer.
God.
I'll die like this.